Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 3:30 and we are excited for our presentation for today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to welcome everyone to our third TILO Presents presentation via Google Hangouts on Air. My name is Christy Hughes and I work at NOACA, Northwest Ohio Computer Association. I am an educational technologist over there. And I will be the moderator for today's session. We are glad that you can join us. For today's session, Mike and Nancy from Chagrin will be presenting, and this session is scheduled to be about an hour long, and we also have time for questions intermittently throughout the presentation. And then obviously if you have questions, we can talk about those via the Q&A board, and I'll kind of show you where that is as well. If you are new to Hangouts, here are a few tips that you should know about. You can watch this via either the Google Plus page or through the YouTube link that is also out there. And for questions during the session, feel free to use that Q&A board. I will be monitoring that, as well as Mike and Nancy also will be monitoring that. And so we encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation, and those will be answered. If you have any other questions afterwards, we can certainly answer those as well. I know this is going to be, or this is being recorded, so feel free to ask questions afterwards as well. So without further ado, I will go ahead and present to you Mike and Nancy, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say. So if you want to go ahead, I will turn off my mic, and then
all right, so it looks like, Kristen, looks like you turned your mic off. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm just waiting for you. I think you have to do the little thing to kick it over to our video stream. Oh, there we go. All right, and I'm going to share out this presentation in 1 second. All right, so you guys should be seeing my presentation here in a second. As Kristen said, please use the question box on the right-hand side of your screen to ask questions. Nancy and I have done this presentation several times in the past, and it's so much better for everybody involved. If you have questions, ask them when they come to you. There's no reason to wait all the way to the end. You can just ask them right at the start. So that being said, my name is Mike Daugherty. I am the Director of Technology here at Chagrin Falls. We are a small school, not small, but a mid-sized school up near Cleveland. With me, which you guys cannot see, is Nancy Kevern. Nancy is our technology integrationist. Nancy will talk about her role later, but essentially what she does is her job is to help teachers integrate technology into the classroom. So what we're going to go through is we're going to talk about 5 keys to a successful one-to-one program. We're going to give you a little background on us and how we got to one-to-one. And I think there's some good knowledge kind of in how we made our decisions and how we got here. We'll talk about those keys, and then go through some statistics on our program and some of the benefits, some of the things we've seen. Yeah, so with that, the first slide you guys see, this is number 3. All my slides, all the slides in this presentation really are just numbers. They're kind of prompts for us. So the number 3, so we spent 3 years in trying to determine how we wanted to go one-to-one. We knew as a group, as a district, that we wanted to go in the one-to-one direction, but we really didn't know how we wanted to do it, what device we wanted to use, etc. So we spent 3 years piloting one-to-one. So in 2012, we rolled out 2 carts of netbooks to the 6th grade classrooms. In 2013, we did 2 carts of iPads. And honestly, if you would have talked to me, or if you spoke to me in 2013, those of you that know me, I was really big on iPads at that time. You know, we spent a lot of time with them. It looked like they were going to be our kind of device of choice. And what ended up happening is we did a presentation to a group, and we got chewed up. I mean, they everything we said they disagreed with. They said we came off like Apple salesmen. And looking back on it, I agree. I think that we kind of got too focused on the device. So, you know, one of the first pieces of advice I can give any district is don't let the device drive your decision. So what our superintendent did was, after that presentation, he asked us to go back to the drawing board and to figure out, you know, really what we wanted our kids to see. What skills did we want our kids to have, and let that drive the choice of a device. So with that in mind, we sat down as a group being myself, the teachers that were piloting the program, our technology committee, and we established what we refer to as the 6 great textpectations. Let's make it, there it goes. So the 6 great textpectations in our mind were the 6 skills that we wanted our students to have when they left Chagrin Falls. I'm going to try and get them all off the top of my head. I know that one is collaboration, so obviously we wanted our students to be able to collaborate. We wanted our students to be able to adapt. So adaptability was one. And the idea behind adaptability was that it wasn't just we weren't teaching students how to use Microsoft Word. We were teaching them how to word process. We weren't teaching them how to use iMovie. We were teaching them how to edit videos. So we really focused on those kind of skills. So to be able to use, to know how to do different things across different platforms and not just have one platform. So collaboration, adaptability, research. We wanted to make sure that they knew how to not only find information, but turn that information into knowledge. Communicate. We wanted to make sure they knew how to communicate ideas. Present. We wanted to make sure that they knew how they were comfortable presenting in front of a group. And the last one was, I believe, creativity. We want to make sure that they had the creativity. So with those skills in mind, in 2014, we rolled out Chromebooks to our 6th grade classes. So every student in 6th grade got a Chromebook. And the reason we chose Chromebooks for that pilot was based on what we tried before, netbooks and iPads. Those devices didn't meet those skills. If your district is looking to do different things, then those devices may be better for you. But in our case, we chose Chromebooks. So we rolled out Chromebooks to our 6th graders. Every student had one. They took it home at night, and we kind of watched the process. Midway through the year, we surveyed students, we surveyed staff, and we surveyed teachers, we surveyed parents, really to kind of see what they liked, what they didn't like. And midway through the year, it was very apparent to us that Chromebooks were an overwhelming success for us. So we crafted a plan to get ourselves to full one-to-one K-12 by the 2018 school year, 2018-19. Luckily for us, during the summer of 2015, we were awarded a straight A grant. So we ended up rolling out Chromebooks grades 3 to 12 the following year. And when I give this presentation, I know that there's a grant component. We can't tell the story of how we got this way without receiving that grant. But what I like everybody to focus on is not so much the grant itself, but the fact that we developed a plan. You know, I talked about deciding in December and making that plan in December of that year. I personally spent the second half of that year working with our 7th and 8th grade teachers on what Google looks like, what their classroom would look like when we went one-to-one. So the grant vastly accelerated our plan, but we had a phased-in approach. I don't ever want anybody to see this presentation and think, well, yeah, you guys just threw a bunch of money at it and went ahead. The point of this slide is that we did have a plan, and you know, we were going on that plan until the grant came around. So with that being said, we did receive that grant. That grant allowed us to roll Chromebooks out to all students from grades 3 through 12. And there were a couple things about the rollout that I always like to talk about to make sure everybody's aware of. For starters, we did do a parent rollout night. We actually did 4 parent rollout nights, and we did 2 sessions each night. We divided those sessions into by grade level. So we did it by grade level, but we did not require you to come by grade level. So for example, if you had a 5th grader and a sophomore, you did not need to come to both sessions. You only had to come to one. We did ask that at least one parent come, and that in all the sessions we asked the students to attend. Because really, you know, we were talking to moms and dads, but we were also talking a lot to the students. The presentations were divided up into 3 sections. The first was about a 10-minute discussion on kind of how education has changed. So we talked about how things look differently now than when we all went to school. I showed a small clip from Jamie Kasub. Jamie is the Google Global Evangelist. He's kind of the head of their education department. He had a great story about how he noticed education changing in his own life. So we talked about that. The idea behind that was just that we wanted to make sure that parents understood we weren't just throwing devices in kids' hands, that there was a point to this, and there was something behind it. After that, we spent 10 minutes talking about the care of Chromebooks. Really on that one, we focus on general stuff you would normally do with a laptop or any other device rollout. Keeping food and drink away from them, don't peel off the keys, keep it in their bag at all times when they're not using it, where to store it when they're not using it, the general day-to-day stuff about care of an electronic device. And the third part of the session was on internet safety. So we explained to parents how Chromebooks were filtered, content filtered when they were in Chagrin, but when they went home, they were not filtered, that our filters did not carry home with them. So we wanted to make sure the parents understood that. And then we gave parents some options on what they could do to filter internet at home. Again, we didn't want to get in we didn't want to be the content filter at their house. So we gave them some options for what to do. And then when the rollout day came, the way the rollout worked was, it worked out really well for us. We felt like this was a really good plan. Essentially, we took over the middle school cafeteria, and we, after rolling out devices to 6th grade, what we learned was that if we inventoried the device and assigned it to the student before the day of the rollout, what ended up happening was we spent a lot of time searching through piles of Chromebooks to find a particular device. When we did it with 6th grade, we were only talking about 160 devices, but it took us quite a bit of time to roll those devices out to the kids. So when we did our rollout here, what we did was we did not assign the device to a student ahead of time. Instead, we tagged them all. So we had an inventory sheet with the tag and the serial number. Oh, great question. So I'm going to stop. There's a question that came in. Did we have BYOD? So to be honest about that, we did have it, Brian, but it was not something that a lot of people took advantage of. The policy has always been in place that if students wanted to bring a device, they could. And I'll talk about how that works now as well. So we did have a policy, yes, but I think of our 2,000 kids, maybe 5 kids took advantage of it. It was not a very popular option, but we did have it. So back to the rollout. When we did the rollout, we asked parent volunteers as well as a couple teachers to come in. We lined up about 10 tables, put 2 people at each table, and we had a shared Google spreadsheet across all of them. And they actually used the Chromebooks that we were rolling out to kids as part of that. So as parents, they got to see it, see a Chromebook firsthand. And as people came in, they saw us using the Chromebook. So it showed our faith in the device. When a parent came up, we pre-populated the spreadsheet with, it was by grade. So there was a tab for each grade, and every student was on each grade. So 6th graders, 7th graders, et cetera. They would walk up, they'd tell us who they were. We would hand over the device, and then we would plug in the inventory number there. So instead of trying to inventory them ahead of time, we inventoried them after the fact as we handed them to the kids. That saved us a ton of time when it came to actually rolling the devices out. So that's kind of how we got where we are. This is our 2nd year now of one-to-one. This year we have it in grades 2 through 12. We are piloting in K1, 2 classes in K, 2 classes in 1. Halfway through the year, I'd say already I'm pretty confident that we're going to be one-to-one K-12 next year. So far, our K1 classrooms have done some really awesome things. So I want to talk into the five things that I feel make our program successful, the five keys. So the first key we've kind of already talked about, but the first key is device. And I talked about it before, but the idea is figure out what you want your kids to do and what you want your kids to learn prior to choosing your device. I can't tell you how bad it is if your community thinks that you're sold on a particular device, not for student use, but because it's what you want. With the iPads, it was, I look back, I was really so focused on the iPads, almost that I was making up reasons why I thought they would work. So we chose Chromebooks, and we've been thrilled with Chromebooks. Couple of reasons why. Number one, the numbers you see here, 68. So they are 68% easier to deploy than a traditional laptop or any other device. I would argue that number is actually a lot higher. I feel like there are only 3 people on our staff, myself, Nancy, and Steve, who's not with us today. But we have well over 2,100 Chromebooks now. And if we were using any other device, whether it be desktops, laptops, Macs, iPads, anything else, there is no way that just 3 people could manage all of that. The Chromebooks are, again, they're beyond easy to deploy. What we do is we actually have them white gloved through our vendors. So a lot of vendors offer the option to enroll them to your Google Apps for Education domain and join them to your Wi-Fi before they show up. So for us, literally, they show up, we take them out of the box and hand them to the kid, and they're ready to go. And then the other number you see here, 92, they are 92% easier to manage than any other device. Chromebooks for us, on a given day, we spend almost no time dealing with the Chromebooks. And what I mean by that is, I'd say, like today, I spent less than 5 minutes of my day working on Chromebooks. I had to roll an app out to students, and that was it. The way we roll apps out is we block all apps in the App Store, and we only allow the ones, we only allow students to download the ones that we make available. So when a teacher says, hey, I need this app, we simply go into the Chrome Management Console, add it to the available apps, and now it's available to the kids. So from that side of the house, there's not a whole lot that we need to do. If you're not familiar with Chromebooks, I'm assuming at this point you are, but if you're not, they boot right from the web. So they're online in about 8 seconds. So compared to a traditional laptop or anything else, I always liken it to the old iPad or the old carts, the carts of computers that you roll into your classroom. You would roll the cart in, dole them all out to the kids, boot them all up, watch Windows boot for 5 minutes, and then from there, hope that everybody got on, get the kids logged in. Then you'd have maybe 15, 20 minutes of class time before you had to pack them all up and put them back in the carts. With Chromebooks, you don't have that. Students are able to open them up and begin working immediately. A great story from our side is that there's often times where you'll see a teacher, midway through, or toward the end of the period, say, okay, everybody close your lid. The kids will close the lid on the Chromebook. The teacher will make any general announcements she needs to make, any topics for tomorrow, etc., remind kids about their homework. And then with 5 minutes left, which oftentimes was kind of a wasted period or wasted a few minutes, you'll see the kids pop the Chromebook back up and keep working. And it's not that they're popping it back up and surfing the net or doing anything like that. They're still working on their projects. So, you're getting a greater utilization of class time. You're getting devices that are they just work. I don't know how else to describe it. They don't get viruses. They can't get virus infected. Their updates work much differently than a traditional laptop. So the updates happen in the background, but you're not prompted. There's nothing you do. They just kind of update in the background. And then when you turn the machine on, off, and back on, that's when the update's applied. But it's not like what you see on Windows or even an iPad where you're waiting for it to apply. Literally, you turn it off with an update waiting, you reboot, and you're on. The update's been applied. The student and the teachers do not see anything on their side. It's a very seamless transition, seamless update. So again, for our side, key one is choosing the right device. For us, it was Chromebooks, but I'm not saying that's the perfect device for every district. The second key to success in our district is charging some form of fee to use the device. And fee is always a kind of a hotly debated topic, at least when I talk to other districts. But we spent a lot of time researching one-to-one when we were going down this road. And I went to, I'm throwing some names out there. I went to Defiance, Ohio to see their iPad program. I want to say we went to Vermilion. We had a phone call with Mooresville, North Carolina. We talked to a lot of different districts about how they were doing it. And the one thing that we saw that really made a difference was that fee. It really gave the students and the parents kind of a stake in the game. And what I mean by that is this. When I talked to Defiance, they were not charging a fee. And they had, within the first 2 weeks, a student walked off the bus and just literally drop kicked the iPad across the parking lot. And when they spoke to him, one of the reasons he said he did it, he's like, well, what does it matter? You have to give me another one. So we chose to assign a fee because it gives them some ownership and some pride. If there's no fee, they almost feel like they can almost walk all over to you or walk all over you. There's another question, Brian. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to finish my $50 fee rant, and then I'll come back to your question. So we chose $50, and we do that annually. It's an annual fee applied to every student. We chose $50 because honestly, $20, $25 seemed a little too easy, too light. So we wanted, if you had to pay that fee, we wanted parents to feel like it wasn't just throwing money away. But we didn't want it to be too high that it was a barrier to entry into our program. What the fee gives you, though, is kind of where we see the pros to it. So the way we do our fee is the $50 gives you two things. First off, it gives you one mulligan per year. So what I mean by mulligan is if a student comes to us and says, hey, I was walking down the hall the other day and I dropped my Chromebook, we will fix that, and the screen broke, we will fix that screen free of charge as part of that $50 fee. So what we would do is we take the Chromebook in, the student would grab a loaner from the library, we would fix that fee, we mark you as your accidental damage was used up that year, mark it in the database. I also send an email to mom and dad just as a, hey, FYI, your mulligan for the year is used. And so they get kind of a one-time accident per year. If anything were to happen to the device after that one-time breakage, we do ask mom and dad to pay for that. And we do that based on how much it's going to cost to fix this. So if it's another screen, it's $50. If it's a keyboard, it's $75 or whatever the price is. If it's more than that, well, either we repair it internally, we send it out for repair. No matter what, we charge parents whatever the cost to repair it is. Or in some cases, it's a whole brand new device. And we have had that. I'd say in 2 years now, we've charged probably 8 parents. And in most cases, that was a full device. The story I always like to tell was that in the second week of the program, I got a phone call from one of the schools, and they said that a student's Chromebook had been run over. So I got the information and I called mom, and she explained what happened and said exactly that. I ran it over. And so I talked to her and I said, I understand, but in this case, we're going to need to charge you that, the cost of the Chromebook. And she immediately argued back and said, no. You said on the rollout night, if it was an accident, that I didn't have to pay for it. I accidentally ran over it. And so I reminded that parent that while it was an accident, it's still neglect. Keeping the Chromebook on the garage floor was not one of the safe places that we talked about keeping it. So unfortunately, that family did have to pay. And we've had other similar instances. So again, the $50 fee seems to work really well for us. The other thing we use it for, and then I'm going to answer Brian's question. The other thing we use it for is for sustainability. So we take this fee and we put it into an account long term. So as we go to replace these devices in a number of years, going back to the coffer and saying, okay, I need a lot of money isn't going to work. So we're able to put this money aside, and it helps offset the cost of the fee of replacing the device. And the goal is that those devices will last 5 years. We chose a particular brand of Lenovo that's pretty tough, pretty strong. So I think that we will get 5 years out of them. Brian, your question was, I don't know if everybody else can read it, so I'm just going to throw it out there. Given a setup, did you deploy the secure browser to Chromebooks, or do we still go paper and pencil? We chose to go paper and pencil, which I take a lot of flack for in the IT community. We have a brand new network, brand new Chromebooks, everybody has them, but we still chose to go paper and pencil. To speak honest, our administration did not have a lot of faith in Park and/or Air last year. We felt like that based on what we were seeing, the state wasn't going to be ready and that there were going to be a lot of problems with it. So we chose to go paper pencil. That was again, I know how it sounds. We got all these devices and we chose to go paper pencil, but based on what we saw, we felt like that was the best solution for our school district. The second part of the fee that we talked about, Brian, if you want to know more, feel free to ask more. I'm just going to keep going. The second part of the fee was taking it home. So paying the fee allows people to take the device home, and we really, really, really encourage this. We don't have anybody that's opted out of the program. We had a few people opt out the first year, They only opted out for probably the first 3 days and immediately opted in after that. But it allows the students to take the device home. We were very big on that. So every student in our schools, grades 3 all the way through 12, take it home. So yes, we do have 3rd graders, 4th graders, 5th graders taking these devices home at night and on the weekends. When we looked at it, here we've got a device that the teachers know in their classroom. They know exactly what the students can do. And we gave them this great tool. And we felt like if we took that tool away when they went home, we were doing everybody a disservice. They knew, okay, this website works in class, but then when their student was going home and they were working on their home computer, who knows what they were going to get. So we allow the devices to go home. We encourage it. But we've seen so many great things because of that. So some of the things that we've seen and we've heard from parents, for example, is, parents who have 3 or 4 students in the district, they say, okay, we had 1 computer at home and our kids would come home and fight over being able to use that 1 computer. Now everybody has their own computer and they're able to do their work when they need to do it. Other parents have said that because of having the Chromebook and having this tool that the kids are used to using in school, they're no longer fighting about homework with mom and dad. They come home and they do their homework because they enjoy it more than doing a traditional paper pencil kind of assignment. I'm not saying that everything we do is online based. I'm sure eventually I will stop talking. I will let Nancy speak. But when she does, I'm sure we'll talk about the fact that this is not everything's electronic. Our teachers totally do traditional assignments. I don't want everybody to think that our kids are staring at screens all day long. We do traditional assignments, but we do find that the online assignments are more engaging for our students. The kids seem to like those better, which I think just makes sense. So moving on, the next thing, 37. So really the big success in our program, and I've talked a lot about the rollout. I didn't talk about our network, but we put in a brand new network to accommodate all of these. The real success in our program has come from having somebody like Nancy on staff who can work with our staff on how they can use the computer in the classroom, how they can integrate technology into their curriculum. Before we did this, before we rolled Chromebooks out, we heard a lot of our teachers, they were scared. They said, okay, I'm not good with the computer myself. What am I going to do when I've got 25 kids all staring at me with a device? When they have problems, what am I going to do? So, we agreed early on that we needed somebody like Nancy to help them get over that hump, help them integrate technology, help them figure out the best way to use the technology in a purposeful, meaningful way. So Nancy does that in a variety of ways. I'm going to stop talking for a minute. I'm going to let Nancy talk, and then I'm sure I will chime back in. But I'll let Nancy talk about kind of her role and how that works in the district.
Hi, I'm Nancy Kevern. I taught 6th grade science for 20 years in the district, and was part of the pilot in 6th grade for all of the devices. So I was able to build a knowledge base, and the transition into becoming the tech integrationist was a dream come true for me. So I was able to use the knowledge that I gained in the classroom and sort of translate that and help teachers become more comfortable with having the one-to-one program. And it was important, I think, to go in and realize that, like our students, teachers are very different learners as well. So you have your risk takers who are going to jump right in. You have the people who are willing, but they want a stronger knowledge base. And then you have the people who are very resistant as well. So meeting all those needs is part of my job, and understanding all of those mentalities is part of my job. We had a plan. We adopted Google Classroom, so it was necessary to do some large group PD, but the teachers also then understood that it wasn't a one and done situation, that I was available and to go back in the classroom to help model, to teach, to explain in small group and even one-on-one things that they were having difficulty with, and having the mindset to communicate to your teachers that yes, you're going to support them with this in a very real and tangible way is very important. Second thing is to ensure those first successes, because like anybody, if you are successful initially with anything that you try, you are more likely to repeat and then expound on it. And so that's our role, and that's the support that I've had from administration and from teachers and parents as well, is that understanding that you're going to be supported with everything that you want to try to do. So the first year was a lot of some large group, but then also going in and supporting with classroom. And then the 37 refers to the number of Google certified teachers that we had after our first year. Understanding that adopting Google Apps for Education meant that they were going to be using these tools. So we wanted to encourage teachers to look at it in depth and go through the process of becoming Google educators. And so I was able to become an adjunct professor with Ashland and offer grad credit, but there was no other incentive other than you're going to be using these tools, so let's all get together and work through this. And then we gave the test, and we were able then to successfully certify 37, which we're really proud of, and we're expanding that even this year. Our professional development, we decided to then implement a program last year, a personalized professional development, where teachers signed up to meet with the tech team one-on-one. We established goals, and then because teachers don't work in isolation, they share those things with their friends, and so those skills then were able to be shared easily among teachers, and we've seen a lot of improvement this year, and confidence, an increase in confidence this year with the use of technology in the classroom. I think it's important to understand that teachers aren't technology isolates. Before we went one-to-one, they used technology, they had their smart boards, and they did their interactives, they did their research projects, but it was a special thing. And so making that shift in the classroom to these students are going to have these every single day, how can I use them to amplify learning, to differentiate, became the focus, and we've seen amazing results so far. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'm going to chime back in on a couple things. So one of the things about the Google Certified Educator Program, what we really liked was that we're not using all of Google, the entire Google Apps for Education suite. You know, we're big into the Docs and the Drive. We're using Calendar now, but we weren't using a lot with Sites. We're not using Gmail. We weren't using all aspects of it, but we really wanted our teachers to begin to understand what all tools were available and how they kind of work together. So the Google Certified Educator Program was more about expanding their knowledge base on what they could do than anything else. That was really kind of our goal in that program, was let's get people through. Now, that being said, last year to do this, that was 5 tests. So we had 37 teachers each take 5 exams to get their Google Educator certification. From our side, from the district side, I paid for that out of the technology budget, and it was awesome. I mean, the things they learned, the things that they brought back to their classrooms it was a great experience. We did that in groups, so Nancy met with them in different cohorts, and we kind of worked it out. So it wasn't, again, it was not an isolation thing. We brought them together. And that went really, really well. We took the exams after school. This year, if you're familiar with the program, Google has completely remodeled the way they're doing Certified Educator. So there's no longer just one cert. Now there's a Certified Educator Level 1 and Level 2. And they've changed it up. So instead of 5 exams, it's 1 exam for each. Level 1 is 25 questions, mainly about education and which Google tool would work best in which scenario. And then you spend the rest of your time doing simulations. So there are X number of simulations, and each number of simulations has different things that you need to do. You know what? The exam is much longer. The exam takes, you have 180 minutes, and a lot of teachers we've seen have used all 180 minutes. It's a 3-hour test. But it's a really, really, really fantastic measure of your Google Apps knowledge. So you're going in there, they give you a temporary account, and you're actually completing tasks. And these are tasks that I would say our teachers are doing on a regular basis, but you're going in there and you're doing it to show Google that you know how to do it. So right now we're working on new ways to do that for our staff and a new cohort of teachers to go through that. We've had, I think we have 7 people that have passed the level 1 this year so far. But Nancy and I are in the middle of developing a new cohort, trying to figure out when we can offer that exam. So 3 hours is much longer than than what we were doing before. So we're trying to figure out how that's going to work. We're looking at maybe offering that on PD days. So maybe spending some time prior to the PD day with the cohort to get them up to speed on what they'll need to do, to have some study groups, and then have them take the exam on the professional development day. So we're still working that out, but definitely refining our program and still going down that road. And I would encourage anybody watching this to investigate the Google Educator certification. It's a great, great, great certification. So the last key to our success was it was engaging our teachers. So we always talk about how to engage students. What's going to make students engaged? Everybody talks about the learning process and how an engaged learner is the key to learning, authentic learning. But we wanted to look at how do we engage our teachers. So Nancy and I last year developed a contest that we referred to as our 21st Century Skills Contest. And essentially what it is it's activities that teachers do each month in which we showcase new tools that they can use in their classroom. So we're running it again this year, and we've changed it up a little bit this year. So I'm going to talk about more how it works this year. But essentially what we did is every month now has a theme. So September's theme was social media, October's theme was collaboration, November's theme was student engagement, etc. And so each month you have X number of activities, usually 2 activities and a bonus activity in that month. So looking at social media, we made it pretty easy. So the first activity was simply to find 10 new people on Twitter and follow them. Find 10 people in your content area and follow them. The second activity was figure out a way to integrate selfies into your curriculum. So we know that teachers and students, especially students, love selfies. So figure out how selfies could be a part of your curriculum. And that was awesome because we saw teachers tweeting out pictures of students, for example, in 12th grade were going through the book, The Kite Runner. So they were taking selfies of themselves and sending it out with our custom hashtag, acting out different parts of that book. And then the bonus activity for September was to participate in a Twitter chat. So it was something they had to do outside of school, but it showed them the idea of Twitter chats and what's out there. Going forward, October, I'm not going to go through each month, but October, we introduced tools like Kaggle and Stormboard. We've also talked about tools like Listly and various different Web 2.0 technologies that you can use in your classroom to do different things based on that month's theme. Teachers let us know via Twitter that they've done an activity, so they'll take a picture of it and they hashtag it. The hashtag we use is hashtag CFEVS21. And if you want to go right now on Twitter and search that hashtag, you'll see what our teachers are doing. And then Nancy and I keep track of that in a Google Sheet. So the incentive for teachers is A, that they learn new tools to use in their classroom, but B, we put a prize on this contest. So for completing 1 activity in a month, you get 1 point. 2 activities is 3 points, and all 3 activities equates to 5 points. Those points turn out to be entries into an end of the year drawing. And what they're going for is a $1,000 makeover toward their classroom. So last year's winner is in a very, very old building in our district where you cannot mount projectors. She chose to take her $1,000 and purchase a short throw projector mounted to her wall. So she got instead of having a cart with a projector in the middle of the room, now it's mounted to the wall. The teachers are given almost no restrictions on what they want to use that $1,000 for, as long as they use it for some educational purpose. They can't use it for themselves, but it has to be educational. It's awesome. I mean, this year alone, we've had well over a third of our staff enter the contest. And from my side as an IT director, I'm taking a very small portion of my budget, $1,000, and we're engaging our teachers. I have teachers that literally can't wait for the email to come out at the beginning of the month to let them know what the new contest is. One of the other things we do too is we throw out an email kind of midway through the month, reminding them about the contest, what the theme is, and then giving them some ideas on how they can integrate the technology into the classroom. So if you're stuck, here's some great ideas on what you can do. And we always encourage those people to go out and look on Twitter to look at that hashtag to see what others have done. Again, a great way for us to show teachers what's out there. I mean, you'd be shocked at there's so many tools. They don't know what they don't know because there's so many things out there. I mean, Nancy and I struggle even keeping up with new stuff every day. So it's really a great way to kind of keep them involved. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. So last part of this before we go to any other questions, I want to talk about a few of the things that we've seen from our program. So when you look there, the 1.2 million, that is 1.2 million Google Docs, spreadsheets, slides, etc. that have been created since our program. And honestly, this number is a little outdated. I'd say it's probably more like 1.5, 1.7 now. And that's documents created by our kids, that they're using. And then the 11 million. Now I know it's more like 13 million. 13 million Google searches. And what's cool is we use a program that allows us to see that, so we can see what the kids are searching. We can see the YouTube videos they're watching. And it's great. It gives us some kind of insight into where they're going on the programs and what they're doing with their Chromebooks, which is awesome for our Board of Education and for our teaching staff. So, for example, I know using this program, I know that on any given day, 40% of the time on the Chromebooks is used for Google Apps for Education, Google Classroom, or something connected to the Google platform. I also know a recent adoption of our CPM Math is getting used quite a bit because I can see them using the online component. So it really gives us some insight into what they're doing. The other thing I love about the program is Go Guardian, by the way. I didn't mention it before, but it is Go Guardian. It allows us to track lost and broken Chromebooks. It allows us to apply special filtering to groups of students who are struggling to keep on task. We have a lot of options with Go Guardian that we really, really like. So if you're looking at one-to-one, I mean, it is an additional cost. But for us, I don't think we could ever go back from not using it. It's been a great addition to our program. The other thing I want to show you here is we send out, this is a portion of a handout that we send out to our community about once a year that goes through some of the different things that we've seen with our program. So again, the number of Google Docs, spreadsheets, and presentations created, the Google searches, the number of YouTube videos watched, just kind of shows them kind of what we're doing here in our district. This is last year's graphic. So some of the things to highlight here, we talked about the stats. 100% participation in Hour of Code. Hour of Code is going on right now. Last year, we had 100% of our students participate in the Hour of Code. Due to time constraints, I'm not going to talk about it, but look it up. It's an awesome program. This year, same thing, 100%. So every student, K-12, is spending 1 hour doing an hour of code. Some of the things that we've seen them do and the things that are coming out of that program are awesome. We have a 90% Google Classroom adoption rate. So instead of having a bunch of different LMSs and teacher websites, everybody's going through Google Classroom. The kids are going to one place to find their assignments, their projects. Everything flows through there. Google Classroom is an awesome free tool that you can use with the Chromebooks and with Google Apps for Education. Again, I'm trying to keep close to our time here so I don't go over. But we have seen so many great things, and we push this infographic out because we want our Board of Education, our teaching staff, our community to know that these Chromebooks and going one-to-one has made a true difference. It's revolutionized the way that we are teaching our kids. So we feel like it's kind of a great, I don't know how to call it PR, but just a great way to talk about some of the success that we're having here in Chagrin. And the last slide that'll come up, and it's kind of corny when you see the slide, but it's 0, and 0 for us is the number of people that would want to go back. You know, we have not had anybody that has said, gosh, I wish I could go back to the way it was when we didn't have Chromebooks. It's been exactly the opposite. I've had English teachers come up to me and say, I can't imagine doing research papers the way we used to do them. I can't imagine doing science class the way we used to do science. You know, it really has changed what we're doing. Can
I just chime in here, because this is really real for me today. The amount of adaptive technology that's available for students who struggle has revolutionized life for them. And I can tell you so many success stories because of that. But there's so many reasons, but that is one very, very important reason.
It's personalized learning. It's having access to that information right at their fingertips. And again, this is regardless of the device. It's still the model of one-to-one. You know, we're definitely into the flipped classroom model. Not, I think, as much as we would like to be, but we have teachers doing that, which again is great to see. It really has transformed our district. It's done a lot of great things, and obviously we're very lucky to get that grant. But we love sharing our story and talking about it. The last slide I'll show you is a couple different places where you can get resources, as well as reach out to Nancy and I after this presentation. So at the top are both of our names, as well as our Twitter handles. We communicate quite a bit through Twitter. So if you have a question, you know, feel free to hit us up that way. And then the 3 sites there, chagrinschools.org. That's our district website where you can go and see some of the things that are happening. But you can also find things like our acceptable use policy that students sign, our presentation that we did to parents when we rolled these out. Different things like that are available on the technology page. Great Expectations. We started that website 2 years ago as a way to tell our story. So a lot of the stuff that we've talked about here you can find on our website. It talks about some success stories in the classroom, tells our story, talks about those 6 skills that we identified. Kind of a great resource just from that aspect. And then the last is my personal site, morethanatech.com. The reason I throw it up there is, as we talked about all the different tools that are available to teachers, I try and push out tools on a regular basis. So I send out a weekly email with tools that teachers can use in their classroom. So if you're looking for ideas on what you can do, you can find some stuff there. Again, all of these are free resources you can use. If you have any questions, now's the time. We've got about 10 minutes left. I'm happy to circle back to anything that anybody might want to talk about or touch on. I will kind of keep rambling here while I wait to see if questions come in. Trying to think if there's anything that we missed or we didn't talk about today that might be good. Oh, I'll throw this out there too. We've had a lot of schools take advantage of this. Nancy and I are more than open to phone calls or even visits from your school if you want to come out and see it in action. A lot of times what we'll do is have teachers or tech directors or administrators or a combination of those people come out and take a look at our program. So we'll do a similar presentation of what you saw here, and then we'll take them around to classrooms and we'll talk about you know, what's working in their district and what's not, and you know, we'll kind of chime in, give our input, give our thoughts. We'll address any concerns that maybe we didn't address here. It's kind of a great way to really see it in action. You know, the one thing I'll say about those visits is they're never scripted. So every visit is unique. You'll come out and we'll talk about what you want to talk about. And then when we walk around and we look at classrooms, we don't warn our teachers that we're coming. We just show up. So you get to see an authentic view into what it looks like into our classrooms. So again, if that's something that you're interested in, you can hit us up on Twitter or shoot me an email. Our email addresses are available on all of those sites that you're seeing now. So definitely, you know, find us that way. So I'm not seeing any questions, and I'm still yapping. Kristen, I don't know if you want to chime in here, if there's anything else you want to say. I know we still have a few minutes to go, so I don't want to end early if we don't need to, but I don't see anything else kind of coming through. So yeah.
I don't see any other questions. I will go ahead and I don't see any other questions, but what I would like to do is certainly thank Mike and Nancy for presenting today. And then also I'd like to thank all the viewers that viewed the presentation today, and then also those of you that are going to be watching the recording live. We do appreciate your feedback for all of these sessions. So anybody that did view the session, you will be getting an evaluation through your email. So feel free to fill that out. It's relatively short. And then if you viewed it online, there will be a link underneath the presentation as well. So we appreciate any kind of feedback you can provide. And then lastly, and I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Oops, one second. Lastly, I just want to point out our website, which is TILO.org/calendar. Well, TILO.org is the homepage, but then /calendar. There are some events, and we have 2 webinars next week. We will continue to populate this calendar moving into January and then for winter spring semester. So feel free to stop back out there and check for some more events. There will be events relative to technology integration leaders and even classroom teachers, administrators, and other people just in the educational world. So if you're looking for some events to just kind of sit in through some webinars, feel free to stop back out there. And then obviously we would encourage people, if they have something to add and they would like to do a webinar, we would certainly appreciate that as well. I will check the question board one last time. There's no more questions. So if there's anything else, Mike and Nancy, we certainly appreciate your time for today. And we thank you again.
And thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Okay, thank you.